Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Guild of Merchant Explorers from designers Matthew Dunstan and Brett Gilbert and publisher AEG. This is sort of a board game version of a flip and write game in which you find yourself as a guild of merchant explorers, searching out across the realm, exploring for villages, towers, exploring through ruins for treasures, developing trade routes between cities, and simply just sort of making your way in this world as a group of explorers. This one's interesting because I've been hearing a whole lot of hype about this game, so I did reach out to the publisher directly to get a review copy of this game, but as always, I will give my honest opinion on everything that I do. Let's head down to the table to see how this game plays in solo, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a solo game of the Guild of Merchant Explorers, begin by choosing a map, placing it out on the table, and then placing out this sort of game board off to the side. For my playthrough today, I did choose to use the map Kazan, mostly because I've got a little bit of a background in Japanese, and I find it interesting that the map with volcanoes is called Kazan because that's simply the Japanese word for volcano. Each map is going to have some slightly differing mechanisms that play out in the gameplay. There's not a whole lot here that's different than the sort of base starting map, but I'll explain all of those changes after I explain how the game plays. We're then going to take the 5 basic Explore cards and set them out above the board like this. We'll take the treasure cards and give them a little bit of a shuffle. Place those right here. Take the investigate cards as well, give them a bit of a shuffle. Place them up here. And then I'm going to take these 4 remaining explore cards that are tied to the rounds of the game, and I'm going to set them down here at the bottom of the board. And you'll see why I do that later when we get into gameplay, but that's going to help me differentiate whether these have already come out and been played during the round, in which case I'll place them up here on the board, or if they've yet to be added to my available cards, which means that round hasn't been triggered, so it'll sort of help me keep track of the rounds as well. I'm then going to take the 6 goal cards for the map that we're playing here. You can see it says Kazan on the back of these cards. Give them a shuffle, and we will set out 3 goal cards for this play. And then for the solo mode, we're going to put out these sort of markers that will work against us to kill off those scoring potential on each of those cards. So for the first card, we're going to put a round 2 marker and a round 3 marker. For the second card, we put out a round 3 and a round 4, which says 1, 2, 3 on it. I'll explain what that means in a minute. And then finally, for this last card, just gets that round 4 or the 1, 2, 3 marker placed next to it. We also have our village tokens and explore cubes. I'm just going to sort of pile them down here at the bottom, and I'll make use of those as I play. And then off screen, I will also be keeping all of the other tokens, the treasure tokens, the coins, these trading post markers, and the towers will be kept off screen, but I'll pull them in and use them as needed while we play the game. And then finally, to set up our first round of the game, we're going to take that round 1 card, and I'm going to mix that into my explore cards, give those a shuffle, and we are ready to play the game. The Guild of Merchant Explorers is going to play out over a series of 4 rounds. And in each round, we're going to play through the entire Explore deck, which means these 5 cards plus whatever round cards we've put in up to that point. So in round 1, just 1. Round 2, these 2. Round 3, these 3. And finally, in the 4th round, all of these cards will come out. And each time we pull out a card, we're going to be placing cubes onto the board, starting either from our center space here or from any other cube or village that we've already placed out on the board, in order to sort of expand across the map. And there's a couple of different things that we're aiming to do. Anytime I place a cube on a space with a coin, I will receive the number of coins that are printed on that space. Anytime I place a cube on a ruin space, these kind of buildings in this case that are marked with letters, I'm going to be drawing the top card of the treasure deck and doing whatever it tells me to do. Now the treasure deck is either going to have unique scoring goals that come up, or it's going to give us something immediately, like placing down a single cube or receiving coins and so on. Anytime I place a cube on one of these discovery tower locations, I will replace my cube with one of the tower markers, and I will score a number of points equal to what it shows down here. The first tower I place will be 6 coins, the second tower I place 8, the third tower I place 10, and finally the fourth tower, if I place that many, will be giving me 14 coins. And then if at any point I fill in all of the spaces of a single terrain type sort of in that grouping, I will remove one of the cubes on a blank space in that area and replace it instead with one of these village tokens. And when I place a village token, I'm going to also score coins based on which era or which round we are in. In the first round, I get 1 coin for a village. Second round, 2 coins. Third round, 3 coins. And in the fourth round, 4 coins. And those are going to be important because at the end of every round, we're going to remove all of our cubes from the map. But any villages that we've managed to build will remain on the map. And of course, as I explained before, when we do an explore action, means when we turn over one of these cards and place cubes, those cubes have to start from either this center space, cubes that we've already placed, or villages that we have on the map. And the villages are going to stay from round to round. So that's going to be our sort of way that we can expand further and further in each round. And finally, the last important space on all of the maps are these trade route spaces. Anytime that we connect 2 of those trade route spaces on the map, we're going to score a number of coins equal to those 2 numbers multiplied together. So if I connected these 2 spaces, 2 and 2, I would get 4 coins. 2 and 3, I would get 6 coins, and so on. But once we've done that, we need to choose one of the 2 locations that we've connected and put one of our tokens on top of that to show that that route has already been completed. And in that case, we can never complete the exact same route again. But we could use the other end that we didn't cover to create another route to somewhere else. I should also mention, I forgot to earlier, anytime we get a treasure from one of these ruin locations, we will also put one of these treasure markers on that spot to show that in a future turn or a future round, we will not be able to reclaim that ruin spot again. Now, Kazan map, the only difference here is that these volcano spaces can never have a cube placed on them, so we sort of have to work around those volcanoes to get to where we are going. How we place out those cubes is going to be based on this deck of Explore cards, and I'll actually explain that last because we'll sort of explain that as we're going through the first round so you can see how everything plays. But the last thing I do want to explain before we get into play is these 3 goal cards at the top of the screen. Because this is going to be one way that we score a lot of points in the game, but also this is going to be a required goal in the solo mode. Before the end of the game, I need to have accomplished all 3 of these goals or I cannot win this game. But in addition, they will score us points, and let me explain how that works. So here's our first goal for this game. It says I need to discover a village adjacent to a ruined space. Now remember, those ruined spaces are the ones with the letters that I showed you in this map. They don't always have letters, they're just lettered in this particular map, but they will always be these sort of hex-based shapes with some kind of ruin building on them. And discovering a village, again, is when we fill in all of the spaces of a certain terrain type in one location. So if I filled in all of these green grasslands up here, I could put a village here next to that ruin, and that would satisfy this goal. Now, if I do this before the AI blocks this off, I will get 10 coins. If I do it after they block me off the first time, I would get 5 coins. Now in the solo mode, after they block the second time, I don't score any points, but I still must complete that goal in order to win the game. So again, our first goal is to discover a village adjacent to a ruined space. The second goal is to connect 2 cities and 2 ruined spaces with an unbroken chain of explorers or explorers and villagers. And the cities are those things that I mentioned with the trade routes. So I got to connect 2 of those trade route cities and 2 ruined spaces at the same time with an unbroken chain of explorers or explorers and villages. And then finally, my last goal is simply to explore a space with at least 3 coins printed on it. That is something that is nice about this Kazan map, is that there are some mountainous areas that actually have up to 3 coins printed on them, like these 2 here, or this one over here actually has 4 on it. That's rare for this map. That doesn't happen on most of the other maps, but you'll see that those mountains that have those high coin amounts don't have any blank spaces. So we're not actually able to build any villages in those mountain spaces because there is no empty location to place the village. So even if we fill in all of those mountains, we don't trigger the building of a village in that case. So you'll see that these tokens are below those gold cards. And what's going to happen is as we pull out these Explore cards, if we pull out the card that matches the symbol on that token will cover whatever the highest available point total is on that card. Which means at some point in the second round we'll lose this 10 coins, and then at some point in the third round we will lose that 5 coins. Remembering that we still have to complete the goal even for 0 points before the end of the game if we want to win the game. And you'll see then that this third gold card will never be completely blocked off because there is no second token for that card. So we'll at least get 5 coins out of those 3 cards. The other deck we haven't looked at is this Investigate deck. And this Investigate deck is basically going to give me upgraded versions of the Explore. And we'll pull 2 of those out and choose one every time we pull out a new round card that we haven't activated before. And again, I'm going to explain all of that right now as we play through the first round, because I think the easiest way to see that is to see it played out rather than trying to explain it before playing. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the first round. We're going to turn over the top card. This card tells me I can place Explore cubes in any 2 green grasslands areas on the board. For this card, they do not need to be adjacent to each other, but remember we must always start from here or from something else that we've already placed on the board. Now I am trying to connect ruins and cities. I'm trying to get to at least 1 space with 3 coins, but most importantly early on, I'm trying to discover a village adjacent to a ruin space. And the closest village adjacent to a ruin space are these up here, and that's also 3 coins. So if I can explore that and build a village here next to that ruin, that takes care of both of those. So that's not a bad idea. Plus, if we can get something built up here, these 2 cities and these 2 ruin spaces are all very close together. These 3 ruin spaces, really. So that's going to help with that as well. All right, so 2 grasslands. I'm just going to go ahead and place those 2 like that. Next card. Similar here, this is 2 desert spaces. Anywhere adjacent to things that we've already got out there or the center space do not have to be adjacent to each other. So realistically, I could place here and here. I could place here and here. Or what I'm going to do is place up here. We cover 1 space with a coin, so I will get 1 coin. All right, then we take our next card. All right, so here's our first numerical exploration card. This is round 1. There are no round 1 tokens, so nothing gets blocked off yet. But when we draw this for the first time, we're going to take the top 2 of these cards, and we're going to choose one of those as our sort of level 1 or round 1 action. So the first one we see here says explore up to 4 desert spaces. They don't have to be adjacent to each other. And we're going to triple the value of any coins that we cover during that action, which could be okay if we went out this way. Could be okay if we went out that way. There's 1 coin there. But right now, that's not super attractive. So let's see what the other card says. All right, this card says explore up to 2 mountains and 3 grassland spaces in any order. This one's actually going to be really helpful for us right now because 3 grasslands is going to get us close to finishing that whole region up. Plus, I know that there's 2 spaces of anything coming out that could help us finish up that grassland later on. So we're going to take that one, which gets placed here as my round 1 ability, which means in future rounds when that ability gets pulled again, we're going to trigger that. And the other one just gets placed at the bottom of the deck. I know that wasn't quite the bottom, but it's good enough. We'll never get that far down. So we need to place out 3 grasslands and 2 mountains anywhere. And I do want to work on filling up here, so we're going to do it that way. Yes. All right. And then I get to place 2 mountain spaces out. Now the only mountain spaces I have available to me are these right here, and I don't know. Yeah, actually I have 1 more mountain coming out for sure. So I could finish that and place another village. So let's do that. 1, 2, which gets me a coin. And we pull the next card, which is 2 of anything. And we're going to use that 2 of anything to finish off this grassland up here, which is a blank and 3 coins. I'm going to trade those 2 in with my 3 to get a 5. I then get to place a village, and I'm going to do that here. So we finished that whole grassland area. We pick an empty space, which is this one right now that I've uncovered, and I'll place my first village. Let me lay it down so you can see better on camera. And now we do have a village next to a ruin, which is that. So I instantly trigger that to get 10 coins. There's only ever a possibility of scoring these gold cards once each. So right now, it doesn't matter, these 2 tokens. They're going to cover that up eventually, but who cares, because we can't score that again anyway. And we also just explored a space with at least 3 coins right there. So I also triggered that already, which is pretty awesome. We got lucky with our gold cards this time, but it also means we're not going to score a whole lot of points off of our gold cards, meaning working towards achieving those gold cards, but that's fine. So I get 10 coins for that as well. So all we're working on now is connecting 2 cities and 2 ruin spaces in a single round before my cubes all get wiped off the board. All right, so we next draw our next card, which is a single mountain, which I am going to go place here, which does finish that triplet right there. So I will pull that off. Doesn't really matter because this village is almost the same as that village, and this is right next to our starting space. So either one of those, I don't really care. And this one's got a coin, so I can't place a village there. So let's do it here. Now I did realize in the midst of explaining everything, I should have taken 1 coin for the first round building a village there, and now I get another one right there. So we take 2 coins for that. We'll turn over our last card for the round, which we know is 3 water spaces. Now I should have mentioned these 2 wild spaces did need to be adjacent to each other. And now these 3 water spaces are 3 water spaces in a perfectly straight line. But that works perfectly for me because I've got 3 right here, 2 of which are ruin spaces, which is going to be awesome. And I'll show you why in just a second. 1, 2, 3, and we get 2 ruins. So we're going to draw for the first ruin here. And that one's going to simply just get me 2 coins. And that'll get put under the deck. So I'll take 2 more coins for that. And then I need to mark that off with one of these little treasure tokens so I can't get it again later. And then same thing for the bottom one as well. We draw another card, and this time I get, this is place 1 free cube. So again, that goes to the bottom because it's an instant activation. Before I place that cube, I do want to put a treasure there so I don't forget it. I've already gotten that one. And I get to place 1 cube somewhere. I could get another ruin. There's a ruin right there next to me and a ruin right there next to me. But yeah, it's not going to matter. Why not? All right, so I'm going to take that ruin there, drawing another one of these, placing another chest there. And that is going to give me, okay, here's a first of our real treasures. So these vases are going to score us points at the end of the game based on how many of them we have. So right now with just 1 card, I'll get 1 coin. But if I can get up to 4 of them, I would get 16 coins at the end of the game. So I'm going to place that down here. We'll readjust things as necessary when I get more cards. And so that's how a round of this game plays out. Now at the end of every round, as I mentioned, we're going to remove all of our cubes from the board, leaving behind any villages and any other tokens that we've placed on the board. So again, I cannot get those treasures again. But I also get to start building directly from those spots. To set up for round 2, we're going to put all of these cards back together and shuffle, except this time now I'm also including the round 2 card into my deck. We will shuffle those up and we'll get started for round 2. Now remember, we already have accomplished both of these goals, so the only goal I need is this one, connecting 2 cities and 2 ruin spaces, and I have until the 3rd round to finish that for full points, or at least until midway of the 3rd round when we pull the round 3 card, but we'll get there. All right, so we start with round 1, means I get 3 grass and 2 mountains, starting from either of our original spaces, starting from the original space or either of our village spaces. And Right now, that's not super great. I could start working on exploring out that way. But I also want to make sure I connect, if we're doing that, connect two cities together. There is a city there and there is a city there, but I need to connect two ruin spaces as well. I might hold off on that and see, because I would love to get new ruin spaces instead of old ones, but I'm going to, yeah, you know what? I'm going to forgo that up top. I'm going to go down here instead now. 1, 2, 3, because the more new exploring I can do, the more villages I build, the more points I get for end game. I did just place on a single coin, so I will trade in 4 1s, plus that 1 is a 5, and another 5 gets me 10 coins. Draw the next card. Ooh, all right, round 2. So we get to take 2 more of these and pick one. This one gets me 4 grasslands and 1 water anywhere. And this one gets me 1 mountain that's surrounded by 5 anything spaces. I get to cover all of those. Now, right now, looking at the state of the board, if I take the mountain spaces, the only mountain spaces that are available for me are these 2 right here, and they're mostly surrounded by impassable volcano, so that would be pretty much useless for me right now. So I am going to take, whether that's good or not, the grasslands one. But actually, it might work out in my favor. So I get to place 4 grass and 1 water. So I'm going to place these 2 right here so I can connect to the water on this side. And then I'm going to place these 2 down here, getting 1 coin, and now filling that green space. So I'm going to build a village at the end there. This is round 2, so I get 2 coins for my village. 1, 2. And now I get to place 1 sea space, which means I am going to activate this ruin space right there. So we'll pull a treasure. Oh, there's a second vase, so now I'll be getting 4 coins at the end of the game. And I score, no, I don't score. I put the treasure underneath that so we can't get it again. So if I connect these 2 together, and I can extend down to this ruin, or realistically just take one of these already explored ruins for no good use, I can get this card. So let's see where we go. We've got lots of stuff that we haven't touched yet. The next card I pull is 3 water. All right, so I'm going to do this. It might not be the best thing, but it is aiming towards this. If I put from here 1, 2, 3 water, we're working our way down to this ruin. And I know I've got the 2 of anything that will get me all the way there. So let's do that. Then I get my 2 of anything, which goes there and there, which gets me this ruin. Okay, so this ruin is one of my endgame scoring conditions. And this tells me for every tower that I've managed to build at the end of the game, I'm going to score 1 additional coin. So right now I don't have any of those, so I might want to start focusing on that as well. But again, we're almost done our regular goals, and we're going to have 2 full rounds of nothing to do but explore and score points. So we'll focus on that later on. I then do have to mark that off so I don't get it again. And we take our next card, which is 2 grass, which right now is not super useful to me, except I might as well use it to get points. So I'm going to play one of them here to get a coin, and I'm going to play one of them up here to get 3 coins. So 1, 2, 3, and 2 more from my hand gets me a 5. Next card is 2 desert. I need to connect my 2 chains together so that my ruins and my cities are all connected together. The problem is, yeah, I might not be able to do this turn because we only have a mountain coming out next. I can connect this 2 and this 3, but then I didn't get a ruin space because these 2 chains don't connect. And there are no ways for me to use mountains to connect the 2 together. So that's not going to help me either. I should have been smarter and just used those 2 water to reactivate one of those, and then, whoops, and then we would have had what we needed to have. But I did not do that. All right, well, in that case, let's at least score some points. So I'm going to connect that 3 and that 2, so those two trade outposts are connected together, and I will, yeah, there's a lot I can connect from down there. I'm going to burn off this 3, and that's 2 times 3 gets me 6 more coins. I'm going to trade in a 5 and take 11 coins. There's a 10 and a 1, 11 coins. We draw our last card we know is the mountain. So basically I'm just going to drop it there to take 1 more coin. And that is the end of the round. So we pull off all our cubes, and we shuffle all our cards back up. Whoops, I just realized these are backwards, that's fine. We shuffle all our cards back up, including this time the 3 card. And we are ready for round 3. I did just realize, sorry, when I hit the 2, this should have gone up and covered that, but again, it doesn't matter because we already finished, and this 3 has nowhere to go, so I'm just going to set it off to the side. But we do have to be careful now that when this 3 comes out, if I haven't done this, it's going to block that off, which means it's very likely I'm not going to get the 10 coins for that goal because I don't know that I can finish connecting all of those things before that hits. That was a little bit of a mistake in the last round, but we'll move forward and see what happens. All right, so we pull out 1, which means 3 grass and 2 mountains. And we don't have a whole lot of option in either location, but I would like to connect up some stuff. And at this point, I really am just trying to get this done. 3 grass and, well, this connects to here, but it needs to connect back up to something. So let's do those 2 for 2 coins. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gets me a 5. And I've got 1 more to connect. Now it's got to connect to ruins and cities. And we can get ruins if we go all the way down here again. I don't know that we're going to do that, but we'll see what happens. In either case, we need to connect up here to down here, so I'm going to put one of them right there. I don't know if that's the best choice, but we'll do what we do. Now, 2 mountains. Yeah, I have no option except these right here because all the mountains are far away, so we're going to do that. And I get 1 coin out of that. Next card is our 3 water in a row, which, you know what? Let's go for a new ruin. Starting from the center space, I can play 3 water straight down like that, which gets me that ruin down there. I get 1 more vase, so now we're at 9 coins for that. Put a token on there. Next card, 2 of anything. 2 of anything. Now we need to start connecting stuff. And this says a chain of explorers or explorers and villagers, so it means not the center space, which means I'm going to need those 2 cream ones to fill in, but we can get that from here potentially, but also we need those 2 to fill in, and we need some more ruins. So I'm going to connect, yeah, why not? We're going to connect 1, 2 in a row like that. It's going to be an issue because we have to connect that or that. But we haven't done green yet. And there's lots of green from here too. So we're going to be okay here, in which case we're okay there. In which case, yeah, that's fine. Okay. A mountain, I don't care, but I'll take this 2 coins down here because 2 coins is nice. 1, 2. Next one. Oh, okay, here's our round 3. So this kills the 10 coins. So we can only get 5 for that, but we should be able to get the 5 for that this time. But I get to take 2 new powers, or look at 2 new powers. This one's just like the mountain one we saw before. I get to choose a green and then place in 5 spaces around it as well. And the same thing here, except I'm choosing a water and placing in 5 spaces around it. So let's see. If I place here a green and 5 spaces around it, because I got plenty of time to get other stuff done. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't mind that. Well, in any case, we're taking the green. I don't need the water spaces. Yes. I'm going to go here. I don't know if this is smart, but it means we may be able to get another green region filled. Now there are already 2 next to it, so that's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 around it. That's a coin. Yeah, just 1 coin means 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 and 1 is 10, and those 10 all together gets me 50. And then we'll pull the next card, which is number 2. So 4 green and a water is going to be what I need to do down here. 1, 2, 3, 4 gets me 2 coins. Then I get to build a village, which I'll do right here. We are in round 3, which means I get 3 more coins. So trade those 2 in and take a 5. Then I get to place 1 water, which will be this ruin space down here, which gets me a single placement of a cube. But before I place that, let me put this treasure chest token down so I don't forget. All right, so right now we have this green trade filled, and we've got 2 ruins, this one and this one. So I need to connect to 1 more trade, so I could go there. Yeah, why not? Yeah. I'm going to go there, which immediately now connects this 2 and this 2. They're both 2, so I don't care which one I cover, but I'm going to cover that desert one there. 2 times 2 gets me 4 coins. We turn over, our next card is 2 grass. Now I could build here to connect this 3 to that 2. Before I do that, I just did finish that. So I get that for 5 coins, trade in a 5 to get a 10. Which means these, for all intents and purposes, don't matter, but whatever. Now, I get to place 2 green. I was thinking to place here because then I get another village. But if I place here, I also then get that trade route. Village gets me 3 coins. That trade route is 6 points. And I don't know if I come all the way down there again, but I could. If I place a village here, it's pretty close. Nah. If I place the village now, I get less points than if I place a village later, so let's do that. And we will cover up the cheaper of the 2 spots, or the lower number of the 2 spots. So 2 times 3 gets me another 6 coins, plus these 4 is 10. And the last one gets me 2 sand, or 2 desert. Ooh, okay. 2 sand or 2 desert connects here. Or there to make a village. No, I'm going to do 2 here. 2, because we've got that 3, and that connects. So I will cover off that sandy 2 up here. And get another 6 coins. And that there is the end of this round. So we move into our final round, this time including the 4th card. Now this card I will show you just says 1, 2, or 3. So when this comes out, we don't get a new ability. We get to choose one of the 3 cards that we have and activate that power. So we'll see how that works when it comes out. But for now, let's mix all of these up and set up for our final round. Again, also before I can do that though, I do have to pull off all of the cubes from the last round. All right, so we move into the 4th and final round of the game. We start with the 2, which means 4 grass and 1 water. And that's kind of a shame because I would have loved to fill in that to get a village. 4 grass and 1 water. Yeah, there's nothing that I have connected to grass that's grass that I haven't explored yet. But if I do the 1 water first, now I can. So starting from the center, I do 1 water, and now I fill in these 4 like this, which gets me 1 coin for that. And then I can pull off wherever I'd like to. I'm going to do that one, putting a village there, which gets me 4 points. And I'll trade in 6 with that 4 to pull another 10. Next card, 3. So I get to place on a green and then everything surrounding that green, which again is not great because there's not a whole lot of new green anywhere near where I am that I care about. Yeah, not nice. But we could place a village in that sand if we get it filled in. Yeah, and same with the sand down below. All right, so I'm going to place in that green space there, and then we'll place 1 in each of the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gets me 1 coin, like that. Next is 2 green. Okay, I don't want 2 green, but we might as well get some points out of it. So I will place up here at this 3 and down here at this 2. Now, I should be paying attention to these towers. The towers are wild and I can place anything on them, but that means I can place anything on them and I can wait a little bit longer. So I'm going to take the 5 coins for the 2 spaces I just covered now. 3 water in a row. Do I care about water in any specific spot? Only that it connects things together. And I can see that this 3 and this 5 might be potentially connectable this time. So I'm going to play 3 water down like that and hope that I can eventually bridge that gap as well, but we'll see what happens. 2 desert. Both of my desert spaces are 3 desert needed. But I'm going to play down here 1, 2, because that connects now into if I can get across there. That's 1 coin, so I get a coin for that. Now, 1, 2, or 3, I got to choose what I want to do here. Green's not a bad idea. Ooh, yeah, because if I do these 4 and a C tile, and then my 2 of anything goes there, we connect. But I still have 1 green over there. But I haven't pulled 1, and that gets me a ton of stuff. Yeah, great. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to use this one down here, which means I'm placing in that spot. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and C. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gets me a coin for that. I get to place 1 in the C, which I don't really care about where, but I'll do it there. And then I get to finish this village. I'll just put 1 there because, which is 4 plus 1 and 5 is 10. Then I get 2 of anything. This is where my 2 of anything comes in. I'm going to place there and there. We haven't connected any trades yet, but we're about to. A single mountain. I'm going to use the single mountain as my wild to build a tower there. So I place my cube there. This tower gets placed there. I would be standing up, but I want you to see it on camera. And that's my first tower, which gets me 6 coins. Which may be sad that it's only 1 tower because I do get extra points for towers. But they're kind of far away and we didn't really get there this time. And I'm making plenty of points off of other things. So we'll see what happens next. The last thing we place out is this 1. So I get 3 grass and 1 mountain, which is kind of sad, but that's fine. We're going to do 1 to finish my trade route, 2 to get 2 coins, and 3 to get 2 coins. So I get 4 coins to start. With 6 is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So we'll trade all of that in to get another 50. Then our trade route's connected a 5 and a 3. It doesn't matter which one we cover because I'm not going to do it again. But I'll cover this 3 down here, which gets me another 15 coins. And then we do get to place on 2 mountain spaces. So I'll place on this 4 and this 2 just to get another 6 coins. And I might as well trade this 5 and 5 to get another 10 back. And that is the end of the game. Now, at the end of the game, we do still score based off of these. This should have gone up when I pulled that, but again, it didn't matter because I'd already scored it. We are going to score these. I've got 3 vase cards, so I get 9 coins more. So trade in one of these singles for a 10. And then finally I score coins based on towers, which I only have one of. So I get one there, which gives me a final score of 50, and 50 is 100. 10, 20, 34. 134 is my final score. Then finally for the solo mode, you are supposed to have set a difficulty level that you're playing to. I generally don't set a difficulty level. I just assume normal is what I'm playing, and then if I manage to beat it on hard, that's great, because the only difference between these three difficulty levels is the point threshold that you need to pass in order to win the game. So easy is 90 coins, and I've always done 90 coins or more, so I don't bother with easy. Normal is 120, and hard is 150. So in this case, I did get a normal victory, but I wasn't able to beat the hard threshold. At this point in my games or in my videos, I do like to discuss the components. You've pretty much seen everything here on the table as we play. This board here is sort of standard hard, thick, like game board. Very nice and sturdy. All of these maps are much thinner card, but they're sort of linen finish so that the cubes don't slide around on them much, and they are double-sided with different maps on the two different sides. You've seen all the pieces. The tokens are perfectly functional. The wooden components are mostly just cubes, but these villages are really cool. They've got a nice unique shape to them. The towers as well do stick out, and if you do place them up standing up normally like this, it does look nice on the map when you're finished. The only pieces that I don't have out on the board are the crystal tokens that look like this, and these are only used for this Cnidaria map because there are spaces that you go to collect crystals, but otherwise those are not generally used in gameplay. So that's pretty much all of the materials or all of the components out here on the board. The cards are a sort of glossy finish, not a linen finish, but they shuffle really nicely because of that. They've got a nice weight and thickness to them. So I'm very happy with the card quality in this game. The last thing I do like to take a look at in these games is the insert that comes in the box. Now this box is your sort of standard Ticket to Ride size, sort of 12 and a bit by 12 and a bit size box. And you'll see that it fits the rulebook exactly at that size. The problem is, when you take out the rulebook, you'll see the maps here. The board also fits in here, sort of just the same width as the box, as you can see. But beyond that, this is what the game comes with as far as an insert. These are the other player colors, just if you were curious to see them. But this is it. It's sort of this insert cardboard thing that, as far as I'm concerned, is really just in there to protect the components in shipping and not for any other real reason. This is not really an insert. This box, in my opinion, is way too big for what's in there. Yes, granted, the maps fit kind of the whole thing, and the board fits kind of the whole thing. The rule book does fit the thing, but the rule book could always be adjusted to fit a smaller box. Would we suffer if the maps were a little bit smaller? Yes, maybe, but the maps could also be made to fold once or twice to fit a smaller box. I just think that there's a lot of wasted space in this box. It does look nice on the shelf. It does need to compete for shelf space with other games, and I understand the reasoning behind it, but this box does have a ton of wasted space in it, and it could be contained in a much smaller box. Now, that said, I know that there's a map expansion for this, and this is the kind of game that could absolutely have more expansions with different kinds of things that get placed out on the board and so on. So eventually, if there are a bunch of expansions that fill up this box, then the box decision may have been a very good one. And I sort of cross my fingers that that's the case. That's all I've got to say about the components. Now meet me back up top and I'll talk to you about what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. This one is one that I said at the beginning that I've heard a whole lot of hype about, and to be honest with you, looking at this box as it is, it's not one that I originally would have jumped out at. I tend not to be a huge fan of sort of abstract-y kind of games, and visually this one didn't pull me in to begin with, but I kept hearing word after word after word about this game being really good, and more importantly being really good solo. So I decided it was worth it for me to check this out because maybe I was missing out on something. And let me say this, boy am I glad I did, because I certainly was missing out on something. I can say, at least for me, that all of the hype was worth the hype. This game is a whole lot of fun. And let me get into exactly why that is. But let me say first, I did say it looked kind of drab to begin with based on sort of pictures that I had seen and so on. But honestly, playing with it on the table and seeing it up close, the art is nice. The maps are really cool looking. There is a whole lot of theme, at least in the design of how things look for this game, even if it does sort of play out like an abstract strategy game. But also, I did mention at the top, and now I'm going to mention this again, this game basically is a flip and write game. You're flipping cards to sort of write things down, but instead of writing things down, you're placing cubes instead of marking off boxes. And I should have paid more attention to that because I do tend to really enjoy roll and write and flip and write games. So that might be part of the reason that I am enjoying this as much as I am. But let's talk about the game. So the main concept here, the main core of the game is turning over these cards to place out cubes on the board in order to connect things or reach certain things on the map and so on. And this puzzle for me is a whole lot of fun. If you've played a game like Cartographers, Cartographers is the same sort of idea, flipping over a card to fill in spots on a map, to do something, to aim towards some kind of goal, and this has that too. And I was a very big fan of Cartographers, but I'm gonna say I like this one more. And it might be because of the physicality of the fact that this is a board game and not a roll and write that sort of pushes it over the edge for me. I'm not quite sure, but there's a lot here going on that I really, really do enjoy. The sort of layout of where to put the pieces out as I turn, aiming for those goals in the future, is a fun one, right? There is a sort of spatial puzzle, and I love a spatial puzzle game. I've said this a lot in many of my reviews. Many of my reviews are for spatial puzzle games, and I do tend to like that kind of a puzzle. What is the best way for me to use these things in this sort of larger space to achieve the goals that I'm aiming for? And that is what this game is, and it does it very well. But not only that, the fact that it plays out over rounds, and each round gets a little bit longer. Each round you get a little bit more ability about what you can do. And you're kind of building as you move forward. This building of a sort of engine is really cool. This idea that at the end of every round we clear off all the cubes but we leave the villages on the map is super important. Because I might not aim for a goal this turn because I can set myself up with a bunch of villages so that in future turns I can extend my reach and hit these other goals that I normally wouldn't be able to reach otherwise from that central starting point. And this sort of future building, it's almost like an engine that's running as you move forward, is really important to the way this game plays, and it's really important to why I like this game as much as I do. It's interesting because I tend to like turn-by-turn tactics more than I like long-term strategy. And even still, when I play this game, I tend to play turn-by-turn based on what I know might come out of the deck and what I can play with based on what's come out. And you really do have to do that because the random order of those cards really is going to determine where you can place cubes. You saw a couple times I turned over a card that had things that I had to put cubes on, and I didn't have much choice based on how I'd set myself up before. But that also means then that there is some long-term strategy because I have to think about, I need to have good spaces available for any card that I turn over. So I do have to put some villages down early. I do have to stretch my reach and sort of put villages next to different types of terrain so that when those terrains come out, they mean something to me. And I really like that a lot. The treasures here add to either endgame scoring or sort of give you that boost with the extra coins or the extra cube that you can place down. That's really cool as well. I don't remember what the cards are called, but the like sort of additional explore cards you get once per round that give you the sort of boosted ability, those are really powerful. And they are quite a bit different. You saw a couple where you place on a terrain and everything around it gets covered. You saw a couple where I could place on a bunch of one color and a little bit of another color. There are a couple also that sort of give you either or colors, like two options that you have to make a chain of across the thing. There's one that gives you a full straight line as far as you can go in anything that's non-water. And so there's lots of really cool sort of rule breaking, not breaking, but stretching abilities that you can get from those extra cards that you get every round. And that building of power as you get closer and closer to the end of the game means every round gets increasingly more interesting and increasingly more fun because you can do so much more, you can stretch so much further, and you can score so many more points as you go forward. But remembering, you've got that sort of ticking timer of the gold cards that the later you get them, the less points they're worth. So you do want to aim for them early as possible. But again, also the later you build villages, the more coins you get for each village you build. So there's this sort of reverse timer as well as the forward moving timer. And all of these things working together is really, really, really fun and really, really interesting to me. Those goals changing up every time. There are 4 maps in the game. And each of those 4 maps has 6 cards. and you only play with 3 cards each time. So there's a ton of variability in the box already, and I believe there's an expansion already that adds 2 more maps with 6 cards each for those 2 maps. There are different things that come out on the maps. The first 2 maps are not that different except for where things are located, but the kinds of goals are different. So you might have to connect certain cities. You might have to have a village in a certain area. You might have to have villages next to certain things. Then you saw the one Kazan that I played that adds the volcano areas that you can't go through. So you've got to sort of work your way around these holes in the map, basically. Then the other one is that Cnidaria that has these crystal spaces, and they score based on how many crystals are printed on the space you land on, plus how many crystals you've gotten before you go there. So those points sort of build as you place on them. There are so many different ways to score. The ways you score are changing a little bit on every different map that you play. So there's a ton of variability here. There's a really cool puzzle here. Granted, the only thing that's going to mess you up if you don't love this kind of game is the randomness, because those treasures will come out randomly. You might get one vase card that's worth 1 coin and then never see another one again, and then that's all you get. Whereas you might get a card that gets you a coin per every, say, Grasslands village you've discovered, and you discover a ton of Grasslands villages and you score a bunch of points off of that. So there is a little bit of swinginess in the scoring because of the different treasures that you get. The abilities that you get out of that sort of special ability deck might be really good for what you're planning for, or might sort of not work at all with what you've done so far. So there's definitely some swinginess in the randomness of the game, but that's the way that these kind of flip and write or flip and fill, flip and place a cube kind of games work. So that's sort of to be expected moving in, and that doesn't bother me much here because it's a quick game, it's a fun puzzle game, and realistically, if it ends badly, I can just reset and play again because it is so quick and so breezy to get through, if that makes sense. But there's a ton here, and it really, really, really is a whole lot of fun to play through, and I'm really loving this puzzle. This is the kind of game that, as I said, because it's so quick and so breezy, you set it up, you play through, and really you just want to dive right back in and play again, and that's basically what I've been doing. I can't say enough good things about this game. This is a big surprise for me, kind of. Like I said, I wasn't hugely expecting that I was going to love this game. And then when it happened, and I did, it was great. I should mention a little bit about the difficulty level. There's easy, normal, and hard. Easy, you beat 90. Normal, you beat 120 points, and hard, you beat 150 points. I have played this game now 9 times with this, so 2 times each map plus this playthrough I just did now, and only once have I failed the normal difficulty. So it may be a little bit easier than it needs to be. It may be that I'm good at this kind of puzzle and that's why it's easy to me, and maybe it wouldn't be easy to everyone. But there's also that hard difficulty level, and out of those 9 plays, I've only cleared that once. So it might just be that hard becomes the difficulty level that I aim for, and then normal is sort of, yes, this is whether I've won or lost it all, and hard is sort of the challenge that I'm pushing for every time. But honestly, I don't care, because the game and the way that it plays and the puzzle that it's giving me and the sort of just the fun sort of adventure that unfolds as you're playing is enough to bring me back to this game, whether or not it's difficult or hard. And realistically, I could boost everything by 10 points because my average is somewhere around 130-ish. So just an extra 10 or 15 points on each of those totals might make normal more challenging for me than it is right now. But I had to mention that just in case that is a killer for you. I hope it's not, because as I said, this game has really surprised me. Again, maybe it shouldn't have because of all of the good sort of review that's been coming out on this game. It's definitely not hype. It's definitely a lot of fun. It may or may not be the right game for you, but I definitely recommend it if you like this kind of spatial puzzle, if you like the idea of a flip and write game that's turned into a full-size tactical, lots of pieces on a map, board game style game, definitely check this out. If you like this video, as always, please remember to like and subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.